Many years ago, I heard this expression that in order for change to take place, the pain of staying the same must be greater than the pain of change. So, in other words, you need to feel this need to break free. And that's kind of going back to that being on autopilot situation we talked about earlier. You had that experience, Wendy, in your own life, in the story that you share with us. And it sounds like there's been some iterations of that's happened for you. And I think that is the case for most people. There's another a book called that The Obstacle is the Way. And
Mhm.
the idea that all of the ideas that generate the world that we live, the products, the services that we use come from solving some problem, an obstacle. And in your own life, often you may not know it, but sometimes you're the obstacle. I know for me, I've been the obstacle in Richard's way in a lot of times.
Yep.
And there's some kind of moment that occurs that allows us to move past that. Where I think people and what you're doing and the work that you do is you're helping people understand you can be more methodical and direct about capturing that
Mm.
moment and almost manufacturing that moment sooner so that you can move forward and create the new way that works for you by being that setting that clear intention. But we need awareness. There's a component of awareness that's necessary. How would you help someone be able to really get clear on that awareness? You talked about feeling it in your body. Walk
Uh-huh.
us through that a little bit more and help people say, hey, after watching this episode, I can see how I can do this in my own life.
Yeah, this is such a great question. And it's literally what I've been doing for about the last 15 months personally. So, when my mom passed away almost 3 years ago, I went through another moment of, what am I doing with my life? And I felt like I was confronted with very much the same situation I was when I was leaving and deciding to end my marriage. And it was about 3 years ago where, I really needed to take a year to deal with my grief, to help my father through a very hard time for him. And when I finally was able to feel like I could come up for air, I was going through my own process of trying to understand kind of who am I now without, my mom, my best friend, one of my confidants, also tapping into really having a deeper connection to the universe, God, your angels, spirit guides, whatever anybody listening calls it for themselves, a higher power. And I spent that next year after, the year after my mom died, grief, then that next year of really tapping back into me and figuring out what it was that I really wanted to do. And it was in that time period where I started my process of really getting even more honest with myself.
Mm.
And so, what I want people to hear right now is that transformation is an always on thing. You are never done. There is never a finite moment or an actual destination that you're going to get to. There are ceilings that you're going to keep breaking through, and they're infinite. Sorry if I just burst your bubble, but I'm known for my truth bombs. There are constant ceilings. And what I find is that people tend to keep hitting their head against the same ceiling over and over and over again, because what is required to break through, to your point, is leaning into, you call it pain, I call it discomfort, because which pain is uncomfortable, but there's a difference between like real pain and like discomfort, right? There's growth in discomfort. And so a lot of people keep hitting themselves because they're trying to actually like find the shortcut instead of going through, right? The shortcut is through. And at that moment, I knew that, yes, it was time for me to transition my business, but it wasn't a real big transition for me. What I had been doing for 7 years in coaching my divorcee clients was really helping them, as you introduced me. They were all high achieving, women who were really just looking to learn how to tap back in and to trust themselves so that they actually had the life that they wanted, and tuning back in to their voice. And what I think so many people try to do on their own is they try to they listen to that voice, but they're listening to the wrong voice. They're listening to the fear. They're not listening to the intuition. And so, what I have spent the last 15 months really perfecting, even for myself, is going back through and asking myself some really basic questions, just some really basic, what is it that I really want? What lights me up? What gets me out of bed? What is it about the work that I do that excites me? And yes, I did this back when I was deciding to leave corporate, right? I worked in corporate. I was in ad sales. I built multi-million dollar regions for people. I didn't know I was an actual entrepreneur in corporate America. So coming back to, well, what was I really good at? Relationship building, creating nothing into millions of dollars. I was really good at creative ideas, right? Of leading teams and inspiring my teams to want to go over and beyond for our clients, right? And so when you tap back into those things, right? Because I was in this, coming back to like having the blinders on. Well, everyone knows me as a divorce coach. I can't go out of the box. But it was like, wait a second. I was coaching people through moments of transition. And sometimes those moments of transition, okay, maybe it's through, someone passing. Maybe it's through you realizing that like you want to leave corporate, or maybe within corporate you hate what you do and you want to be doing something else for a different organization, or you want to start a new department within your company, right? And so what I've realized is like when you go back to the basics of just asking yourself, right? Like, what excites you? Not what are you good at? Because I'm good at a lot of things, but it does not light me up, right? I am great at doing laundry. I hate laundry. I hate folding laundry. I do not, right? Like little things, right? Like I was really good at ad sales, but it literally sucked the life out of me. I was judged by a number every day. I couldn't do it anymore. Divorce coaching, I was showing up to calls and people bashing their spouses. And I was at a point with my ex-husband where we are like best friends. We are so tight, great co-parenting. I was like, I can't take this anymore. And it wasn't that I had to all of a sudden be like, what am I going to do? Now I'm not going to make any money. It was, wait, let's go back to the basics, Wendy. What are you really good at? What do your clients compliment you for all the time? What is it that you excel at for people?
Mm.
And it really is like, I'm really good at helping my clients to take a moment for themselves, AKA get on the phone with me and slow down their mind and to get back in touch with what their truth is. And when they can't hear it, guess who can? I can. Highly intuitive, have been since I was a very little girl. I can hear things, I see things, and I see my client's path. And imagine the difference that it would make if you just slow down and you learned how to ask yourself the same questions, going back to the basics and tapping into how does it feel when you ask yourself those questions? How does it feel when you are increasing your awareness around what you love, what you don't love, what brings you joy, what makes you unhappy, what gives you anxiety, what lights you up?
Mm.
And coming back to that and understanding that you have the power to do anything you want. You have the power to create anything you want. We live in a world, in a country that has limitless resources and abundance. Money is abundant. I have had my best years during what we call recessions because I don't buy into that. My mindset is totally different. And so when you shift your mind into what's possible, into like it's an energy that you want people to join in on, that you want people to be a part of, like you want your energy to be contagious. And so I would really encourage people who are listening to this, get honest with yourself, go in. I took 2 months off, nothing, I did nothing. And I went in and I did some work and I didn't love everything that came out of it. I really didn't. I had to face some things that I thought were done, but they were manifesting differently for me in my head. And I cleared it. And then I kid you not, I after that, it's been easy. So you don't always know what is in your way, but there are so many other people out there who can help support you get out of your way so that you can start getting back in the driver's seat of your life.
Yeah, I love that. And there's, for myself, the Colby A index is really helpful in that and having a better understanding of what some
Yeah.
of my my instinctual way of doing things are. And I'd encourage everyone to have that type of a knowledge base. It's a great framework to begin some of that process of identifying. People say strengths and weaknesses. I don't really believe in the strengths and weaknesses so much, but it's like, look,
Yeah, me
things that
too.
you're really good at and things that you're not particularly as good at doesn't mean
Yep.
you can't do them, but they don't necessarily bring you joy or they're not natural. And if you can double down on those other things and if you don't know what they are, ask
Right.
5 or 10 people that are close to you and they will tell you. And you will find a common theme about things that you do really well from their vantage point. And then you can hold on to those things and begin to build a platform of the life that you want by being able to do more of them, especially if there's the things that you love and enjoy. So there's things that you're good
Mhm.
at, like say the laundry, but it's not the thing that you want to be doing. And so you want to identify the difference between those two elements in the way that Wendy identified.
I would encourage you guys to not look at it as weaknesses, but instead to understand that you're human and it's okay to ask for what it is that you need, and what it is that you don't own it. You don't need it in your life. You don't No one's forcing you to do anything. But there's other people who are really good at the things you're not good at. So figure out how you can get support in those other areas if you're not good at it. Can't be good at everything. I used to be a perfectionist.
There's a who that's out there to help you get those hows
There's a
done,
who. I love that.
according to Dan Sullivan.
Yes, there's a who out there to get you what you want.
So incredible, Wendy. Thanks so much for spending this time with us, sharing us what really the power in the pause is and how you can activate that power for yourself personally so you can get more done and have more of the life that you wish to lead. For those of you tuning in, make sure you stay tuned for next week's episode as we continue to unpack these incredible innovations and the challenges that are making the entrepreneurs of tomorrow become so incredible.